In this video, Oz looks weird. More rather, his footage looks weird. He has the wrong settings. My camera defaulted to the wrong shutter speed, and it makes the motion look all blurry. Sorry about that. The other thing, we talk about a tweet in this from the president of Venezuela. It ended up not being true, but everything we say in here is still very relevant. There are many children, men and women, who are all dying because they can't get the medication and care that they need. Just thought I'd give you that little disclaimer. I really appreciate everybody coming back for the second episode, and if you haven't, then go check out the first one. It was really fun too. Thanks for watching. Okay.
Hello.
We're back. Part 2.
Yay.
So,
oh, hey.
I posted the episode today, so yeah, hopefully people enjoy it. No idea. But we got Oz back. We got new beer. This one.
Yeah,
let's see. I'll try it. I don't think it's actually your face is in focus. Okay, so this one, Blanche de Menure. Well, how would you say it?
So, Blanche de Namur.
Oh,
Namur.
Wow, you did better.
What does that mean?
You did
Like white of Namur white.
white beer.
Yeah.
Glowing.
Blanche is a French word for white.
Glowing. I'm an idiot. Glowing. See, I can't even read English. It says glowing on the back, and
Have you already had a sip of it, or?
No. Oh yeah, let's try it real quick.
I tried it. It's not bad.
Let's
Very
try it.
subtle.
I honestly thought it was going to taste way more like fruity than that. That tastes like beer.
piss. No, it doesn't. I mean,
It's very light and
I wish piss tastes like that. I'd be drinking it all the time.
Oh my god, this is just a first thing. Okay, it says glowing, hazy color, smooth body from wheat, appetizing spicy flavor, and aroma from coriander.
Dude, so you know you're getting into editing when you look at somebody's shirt like yours, and I'm like immediately I thought like, oh man, I'm gonna love color grading that. Gonna get a good contrast. No, like your that shirt's fucking cool, but the red plaid one,
Oh,
it will just really pop with lots of contrast. But okay, so I thought we'd kind of drop into it a little quicker because it took us 24 minutes to get to the topic of Venezuela, and I think that's fine for not having talked about it yet. But since everybody watched stuff and we pretty much just talked about the history, I think it'd be better if we just got right into the subject this time around. Yeah, we got beer, we got a Mexican. Let's do this.
guys, there's no safety racist word, okay? So we can get as racist as we fucking want.
Sorry, Venezuelan. They're a little bit better.
They're a little less worse.
yeah.
All right. So before we get into it, what was who posted what?
Okay, so I was scrolling down through my Instagram
I guess
feed.
that's not before we get into it. That's getting into it.
Yeah, so I don't know if this is the actual tweet. I mean, it's a screen capture of a tweet that Nicolas Maduro did. So what I'm going to do is right away look it up on Twitter to see if...
Maduro being the current guy.
Yeah,
Okay.
the president, Nicolas Maduro.
Yeah, you have to check if that's real because you know how many
Yeah.
fucking tweets there are of Trump that are so not real. And
Yeah.
I have friends at work who will come up to me and be like, "Can you believe Trump said this?" I'm like, this doesn't mean that it's real. And he's like, even though it's got the verified check in his picture, I'm like, do you know how fucking easy it is to Photoshop a tweet of his out and then just put new words in?
Yeah,
that is basic
ridiculous
shit. Like
easy.
you don't even have to be good at Photoshop.
You can literally
to
just
do that.
even just drag and place it over.
Yeah,
a real
like
tweet.
And then write whatever,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it's fucking stupid. Like, and just they'll straight up believe it, and they're like, "You really think somebody would lie about that?" I'm like, "Yes."
Of
I'm
course.
not pro Trump, but 100% there are people making shit up about him. Like,
Yeah.
Even if you are genuinely not that great of a person, people will still make you seem worse than that.
I mean, I don't think this is made up. So it's an artist which has being like even more acid on his critics to the government this year. So, but he's posting like a screen capture of a tweet that Nicolas Maduro did. So I'm looking for the official account of Maduro, if your Wi-Fi allows me, and to see if the thing is true. And I would like to verify if the tweet was the real thing before reading it, because it's a very shocking declaration for me. And I was telling you guys that this week an interview that a journalist made with Nicolas Maduro was released, and this interview was like being held like from January. It was like at the beginning of the year. So you would say like, oh, not many things could have happened, in 6 months, but actually, yes, a lot of things happened.
So 6 months being since you've been here?
No, 6 months since January to June,
when they did the interview.
The present year, yes.
Okay, gotcha. Sorry, I blacked out for a second.
So
there.
yeah, so the interview was cut in the middle, because just in the moment on which the journalist had an iPad and was about to show Nicolas Maduro a video that he made of people taking garbage in the streets just to find something to eat, because he was like questioning him, like, okay, if you say and you claim to be having a very good situation for people here that gives social protections to the people, so why do we see people in the streets getting into the garbage to get something to eat? So when he was about to show him the video he himself made, Nicholas just stood up and said, you know what? This interview is not being productive neither for me or for you. So I suspended immediately. And he took out his iPad and the interview was ended. So all of the equipment of the journalist was like being captive. And actually it happened like this 4 or 5 months period on which the thing was like being held before it could be released. And I'm pretty sure that the guy had to like face legal consequences and punishment for just to doing so.
What are exactly the laws for freedom of press down there?
So according to the Constitution, we have freedom of speech and freedom of expression. But,
and freedom of press too.
Yeah, but economical conditions have made conditions for journalists like go way worse. Actually, in the city from where I come from, there was this journal which was being circulating for more than 90 years or so. It was called Panorama, and actually a couple of 4 weeks ago, they ended up the physical circulation of the journal. So it's already only on the news, on the internet. And you might say it's silly, but it is not, since if you think about the reasons why they got to that point. And the reason is like there's no paper in the country, so they cannot print the journal on a daily basis. And it has to be imported because we don't produce that paper in Venezuela. So it has to be paid in foreign currency, which legally it's impossible to get in Venezuela. So the direct consequence is that the diary is going to be out of circulation. So it's just going to be tweets and internet pages now. And of course they're going to they had to kick out a lot of people whose work was, the journal, for decades even.
Yeah, I just assume with how things are changing down there that they're probably putting a pretty big limit on press freedom and stuff like that. So what was the tweet then?
So I'm about to find it. And what happens, because you ask about freedom of speech and freedom of press, what happens is that legally we have it in our constitution. Is again, you have your rights of freedom of press and speech, but there's now a committee or a commission that was being installed by Nicolas Maduro, which is called something like the Commission Against Hate and something like that. That's the I know that the word hate is on the name of the thing. So that's an organism created just to pursue journalists who speak lies and try to humiliate the revolution. So any guy wanting to, expose the truth is going to face legal consequences such as prison, confiscation of his equipment. If you're an international journalist, you might be going to jail as well. And I think, no, it was Russell's. I think I showed you guys a picture of a journalist being in prison in inhumane conditions. Like,
You never showed me that.
yeah, the guy was shirtless and with just a pair of shorts in a prison without electricity, without water, without food.
He was a
without-
foreign one?
I
Or-
think he was.
Ew, jeez, wow. That's not
That's
not
nice.
good.
I'm trying to see if that thing is right, but
Well, let's just read. Well, let's read the tweet, and then by the time we post this, which will be in 2 weeks, we'll know if it's true or not. And
Okay.
I'll throw up like a disclaimer on the edit saying we found out what it was. But
Yeah.
let's just read it and
yes.
discuss the implications if it is true.
Yeah. So, this is being published by an actor whose name is Franklin Virgues. And it's a screenshot of a tweet that is supposedly published by Nicolas Maduro. And it says like this: "We are living a truly historical process where children with terminal disease should be sacrificed to save revolution. Those kids are going to be remembered as a heroes and as a patriots in the history."
Wow.
Yeah.
That's not good.
No, it's not.
So wait, what? We're sacrificing children's lives for what?
Yeah. So I'm going to explain. I'm going to read the tweet
Is-
again, and I'm going to explain the reasons why I think he probably is releasing
Well, is
those
he talking about
declarations.
like at this point in the economy they can't treat those kids? So we
At
we
this
have to
point,
be okay
like
with
4
it?
years ago.
Yeah.
It's not-
Like, is that what he's saying? Like, we can't treat these kids, but they're going to be remembered.
yeah.
Okay.
They're suffering, like they have to suffer because what we're building towards is going to be better down the road, even though they're
Yeah.
suffering
No.
now.
I'm going to explain it again. So
Okay.
I'm going to read the tweet again. So it says, Nicolas Maduro, "We are living a truly historical process where children with disease, with terminal disease, must be sacrificed to save the revolution. Those kids are going to be remembered in history as heroes and as patriots." So the reason why I think he is releasing these declarations is because he is being exposed in national media and international media as the leader of one of the worst economical disasters that human history has seen. You told me that you checked out the cipher of inflation that I told you last episode because you
Yeah.
thought I was being dramatical about it.
It's literally at like 1.6 million %.
1.6
Jesus.
million %.
It's
And
ridiculous,
it keeps
yeah.
growing. So when you take in count, as I mentioned before, everything in our country has to be imported because we don't produce anything. Economical conditions took the country to a point on which the industry can no longer work because we don't have prime matter for nearly whatever. We just have oil, and that's the only resource we produce. And we've been like living from oil revenues the whole existence, or our whole existence. So when you take in account, I mean, before it was affordable because, of course, oil barrel was like $180 when Chavez was president, so you could afford throwing money at whatever. So he was just a guy who threw money to problems, and that's it. He didn't work for like to get a solution or to get the industry sector of the country more productive. So being that said, you have to import everything that you produce, even prime matter. And that has to be paid with foreign currencies, euros, dollars, because nobody wants the bolivar because of the inflation.
yeah.
Like it
Yeah, no one
depreciates
wants that.
like daily. Like daily, it loses its actual value because the government they keep printing inorganic money. You know, money that has no backup. Like it's not backed up by gold or by oil or whatever.
It's got more value being in a fire than it does
Yes.
spending. Yeah.
Yes. So this made conditions for the industry sector like impossible to raise or amass wealth. So taking that into account, I'm just talking about goods like producing this case for this phone or producing this cable, which prime matter is fucking oil. Or I mean, everything has to be imported. Now take that into the basic goods you need to have a decent life. I'm talking about food. I'm talking about medicines. I'm talking about equipments for hospitals and clinics. I'm talking about equipments for the electrical system of the country to function properly. So when you take that off and you take that down and you take in account that all of these major resources are being handled by the government and they administrate it at their will, and they give it to those in favor of them, and those against them could be fucked up. So you realize that something is not going good over there. So imagine now that you have like a very bad terminal disease such as diabetes or cancer or what's this other one? I don't know. I'm gonna take it more serious and more dramatical here. There's people dying from diseases that they were already eradicated. Like from past century.
Yeah. So you can't get like vaccines or anything.
No, you cannot get anything of those. Like simple things such as antibiotics or
not to get too crazy off topic, but like let's say you are someone who has cancer. Mm-hmm. Currently in the country, like is your only option literally just to stay home and have cancer
and die? Yes.
Like there is no program or anything currently.
Yes. So what's happening? It's that the normal citizen cannot afford a treatment for cancer because it has to be paid in dollars at a millionaire amount of money, like thousands of dollars, which you cannot produce because our basic salary over there is like $2 a month. Imagine, $2 a month.
6 billion million inflation.
Yeah, imagine paying for a cancer treatment when you make $2 a month.
Oh, dude, freaking a can of tuna fish would be an impossible goal.
Yes,
that's insane.
That's what's happening.
That's the cameras.
So one of my friends who was a former Chavista, he's not a Chavista anymore, thanks God. Or thanks for reason.
Chavista meaning he
was in favor of Chavez. Yes,
pro Chavez.
I just sent him the that picture of the tweet of Maduro, and he was shocked, and he was like, "I'm not gonna even ask if this thing is serious, is real."
So is he just in general talking about the state of the country? Do you think, or have they passed something specifically that's like specifically related to terminal illness? Because.
Yes.
Because he's specifically calling out terminal illness. In my mind, makes it seem like they passed some kind of bill or law or something that directly affects them, or is it just in general the state of the country?
Yeah, it's just something just in general of the country. So my point, where I want to get is this: so it is impossible for a normal citizen over there to pay for a treatment for cancer, for diabetes. I mean, people are dying for those diseases like massively, and last month, some of the hospitals published like a number of how many deaths they had of children who had cancer and couldn't be saved because they couldn't afford the treatment, and public hospitals didn't have the medicines and the equipment necessary to treat those kids. Because in the past, I mean, Chavez tried to instaurate like a good health system that was public and free for everyone. But of course they stole all the money and the medicines didn't arrive, so they fell into the hands of corrupt people who would sell those medicines to the one who gave the higher amount of money.
Essentially kind of became the EpiPen thing.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if you've seen the cost of EpiPens, but essentially
no.
Somebody pretty much bought out the entire market of EpiPens, so they then decided to charge them at like 400% their time, or 400 times their value. And there's no competitors, there's no one else making them, so like literally it's the one stop you can get them, and instead of making them affordable, they're making them thousands of dollars.
Exactly that. Yes. So for a normal,
what?
Well, I've just seen things like talking about that and saying actually there's certain ways around it, like tricks you can do with the pharmacy and getting these things like making your own. They're astoundingly cheaper.
Oh, that's cool. I know a few people. I might have to do some research and ask them about that.
Yeah. But the fact is that there are hundreds of kids dying for terminal diseases or common diseases that could be treated, but they can't afford to pay.
I was going to say, just like the common head cold or fever can actually be fatal if you're not
if you
careful.
Don't treat it. Yes. And I'm going to tell you something about that later. But let's just take it to this point. So what's happening is like when something happens in Venezuela, the government would deny it. Or first they would ignore it. They would make as if the problem does not exist. So play fool. And then when it's very obvious like this, when you have international media publishing ciphers and statistics about how many people are dying because of poor economical conditions and people not being able to afford treatments, like they make like this construction of the post-truth of what is happening. So they manipulate every fact to make it seem to make it look in his favor, and so to make him depict as they're not the ones guilty. You know,
they is in just like him and the government officials who support him.
Yes,
yeah.
So his tweet that you just read, if it's true, is basically his response to their releasing all this information, saying, "Hey, so many kids are dying. We don't have this." It's like, oh, it's a medical crisis. And that's just his response.
Yes.
Okay.
It was so cute.
I don't know. You have something in your head.
Oh, well.
You did shower today?
I did, actually, yeah. Mysterious.
It looks like sheesh, actually.
Oh, it could have been, yeah.
So, people have two options over there. They could flee the country and pay his treatment on another country, which is way expensive for a normal average citizen. But there's people doing it, actually. Or you could have a GoFundMe campaign and
all the pulp.
Yeah, you get all the pulp.
And people abroad would like donate money so you could pay your treatment or your disease. That's how a percentage of Venezuelans are making it. Because if you want to pay for a treatment in bolivars, it's impossible. You're not gonna make it. It's probably like you're gonna die.
They're literally starting GoFundMe's in other like currencies
so
in order
bring
to
in
pay
foreign money and then have enough to actually
get
the treatments.
That's how the people survive.
That is one, like, for a lot of people who are, you know, really Haiti against the internet. Like, I'd love to see you try and do that back in the 1920s. Like, yeah, good luck trying to start a GoFundMe to a bunch of foreigners and get outside money. Like, that's not happening.
Yeah, at all.
There are at least those benefits, and also just in general, you know how much easier it'd be for them to keep everything going on in Venezuela a hush hush if the internet didn't exist.
Right.
There's problems with the internet. It's already pretty hard since we don't have electricity most of the time.
Yeah, well, and then you do have the one problem with. You know, there can be so many stories, both bullshit and real, coming out of one location that it gets so lost that nobody takes any of them serious. Yeah. So, like, that you do have overexposure as a problem on the internet as well, too, which is part of the reason why I wanted you here to tell us some stuff, because I don't fucking know what's real. Like, almost every article or something I've read down there, I'm like, that's crazy. But is it actually happening? Like, I don't know. There's so much fucking bullshit on here. So, yeah, I guess there is still lots of downsides to internet media.
Yeah, like the one you told me the other day, like you saw in the news, like people are killing animals in the zoos so they could eat them. And you asked me, like, is that true? Is that happening? And bad news. Yes, it's happening.
Jeez.
Like, people are going
it's not
to
like a
zoos.
riot of people.
No.
It's like people going in there and taking the animals and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's like very few people. It's I mean, it's weird cases, but it is happening.
I can't remember the exact article, and I'll find it. I'll see if I can't find it on the edit and post it right now. But I believe it seemed like it was saying like there was a riot of people going into a zoo and going there. Where what it sounds like what you told me about was more like a poacher going into the zoo, killing the animal, and then like literally like trying to make money off of having meat and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean this particular case were of what you're talking about was the case of a cheetah that got killed from the zoo because, of course, in Venezuela you cannot find cheetahs in its natural state. You know, it's most buildings and shit like that. I mean, the city where I lived. But we had a zoo and there was a cheetah, and the head of the animal appeared on a major avenue like miles away, like 30 miles away probably. I mean, the zoo in my state, I mean, I grew up in Maracaibo, and there's this other state which is called San Francisco, like California, San Francisco, but less cooler. And less gay people, I think.
You never know. They're hiding.
And no Jewish. I'm sure no Jewish. But the zoo in my
I don't know. It's sounding pretty great to me. Yeah. No gays, no Jews. I might go there today.
Zoos.
They got zoos.
Yeah.
With cheetahs.
Not so many cheetahs now.
Yeah.
Like one less cheetah.
Yeah.
But the zoo is in the city of San Francisco, and the head of the animal appeared in Maracaibo, like on a very populated avenue, like in the middle of the day. And there was a video of it. Jeez. So there are many rumors around this fact. Like some people say like it would be like for sorcery purposes or something like that, like religious purposes. But I don't know. It's very shady because why would you put the head of the animal apart and take the body away?
I genuinely think it's just like a trophy kind of statement or something like that. Like, who took this thing? And then you throw the head in the street like, bitches.
Yeah, but nobody came out saying it was responsible.
You would never want to come out from something like that. But like almost like how some people who like is a history of some like murderers or something always leaving their mark on a victim, almost like they enjoy this kind of public like
exposure.
There's something tying them to it, but there's some kind of display that they enjoy. Like it's almost like a bitch, you didn't catch me and I got away with it. Like who knows what happens to that cheetah? You throw its head on a street and then you're like, whoa, some fucker cut its head off.
Yeah,
how the hell did they even do that? And it's like, while they may not know it was you, you know that you're the one who did that. So I think it's more of like a self jerk off thing in the crime world. But
we will never know. I mean, by this time.
Sorry. Anyway, let's get back to the tweet. Sorry.
Something more crazy about this is that in 2012, 13, something like that, we faced like an epidemic. Like a very rare disease called chikungunya.
An epidemic?
Yeah. How's the word?
An epidemic.
Epidemic. What did I say?
Epitome.
How is it?
Epidemic.
Epidemic. Okay.
I know what epitome is, but why can't I think of it?
Yeah, I don't know.
I was thinking epiphany. I was like,
that's what it. That's what I think. I'm confusing it with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Epidemic. Yeah.
Oh, okay. These two weird diseases, Zika and chikungunya, like. They were like it was like some sort of disease that was a virus that was transmitted by a mosquito bite. And the whole country got infected by that disease. And treatment was as simple as taking antibiotics. And guess what? You couldn't find them in pharmacies.
Mm. Yeah, actually.
It was a shortage.
I remember that. Because I don't think it was just Venezuela. I think that
it was all around South America, but the place that was affected the most was Venezuela.
Well, I think a little bit of North America got that too. Like, as my mom freaks out about things like illnesses. She reads in the book that West Nile virus, which is transmitted through mosquitoes, comes back, and like she went insane. Like, I remember just her. Well, you said 2012 though. That was when I was like 10.
2012? You were not 10.
No. He said 2010.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying that's got to be wrong because I was 10 when
Okay.
this one happened.
Well, virus is always around. You always got to get your horses.
Well, my mom read about a
Vaccine.
kid dying in like Missouri or something like that, and so of course
it's Missouri?
that meant I was next. So every time I left the house, it was just like she would just take a paint can of mosquito off,
Deet the fuck out of
yeah,
there.
obviously not, but she would spray me, and it would just be like. I was like, "Yes, stop it, Mom!"
Oh my god, that's so insane.
But yeah, sorry, I'm
But
distracted.
it was like that. I mean, it was ridiculous to see how a whole country was affected by a very easily treated disease. But everybody was having a hard time because they couldn't find antibiotics. Like a simple pill, would cost like a couple dollars here in, I don't know, Walgreens or CVS or whatever. It was a pain in the ass to find it in Venezuelan pharmacies. And of course, like everything that happens over there, you had the legal market of the product, which was, very hard to find, and you had the black market of the product. So, at a huge cost. I mean, it costs more than it actually was. So that's what happens in my country. When something happens, you have like a possible solution for it, but the people instead like try to get things even worse or try to make a business out of it. And the reason why this happens is that conditions for normal people to amass wealth on a legal, normal, legitimate way does not exist, since it's not being paid as it should, and the bolivar loses value daily. So you would want to make a business over there that is affordable and that can make you make money in foreign currency. So there's a business around every good or every service you can have over there, and it's being paid in foreign currencies. And I'm gonna give you a crazy example. In the month of April, the country faced a insane blackout that lasts for like a week. Like the whole country was without electricity for a week.
Jeez.
The whole country.
Jeez, that's
The whole country. I'm talking about tens of millions of people, like 20 million people without electricity.
Jeez.
Not even a single state. The reasons why this happened, I mean, the explanation is very easy. I don't want to deviate myself too much from this. But what is happening now, I mean, relating it with the point I'm talking about, what is happening now is like people that work, no surprise for anyone, the only one existing company that provides electricity for the country, I mean, like there's just one in the whole country, is being run by the state.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, socialist country. That's what happens. So, what is happening now is that workers in that company are charging people in foreign currencies, not to take out the electricity service. So you would pay, like, for instance, if you have a complex of buildings like this, you would take like an amount of money per apartment, like $20, which is a lot in Venezuela. Taking in account that you make $2 a month, like you would take $20 by apartment.
$2 an hour.
Yeah, no, a month. That's what you make on a month in Venezuela. $2. That's the minimum wage. Yes, $2 a month.
What?
Yes.
But that's foreign dollars, right? Or is that?
I mean, we have bolivars over there. That's our currency. But if you take it into dollars, it's like $2 or something like that.
Okay.
Gotcha. So they're being paid like 800,000s and all, like a huge amount, but it equals out to about $2
yeah,
of
it's
value.
something like millions in Venezuelan bolivars. But if you take it to dollars, it's like
Yeah, and like you mentioned when we first met, that like pulling money from an ATM is ridiculous. Yeah. Like,
No,
it's impossible.
It's impossible.
Like they can't even keep them stocked. One dude could empty it.
Yeah, exactly.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I remember when I was in college, like going daily to an ATM to take out money so I could pay transfer for that day. So the other day I had to go back to an ATM and get more money so I could move
You
that
got, like,
day.
a whole backpack. It's like the gangster things with their briefcases, but it's literally for a bus trip.
Yes.
I've got the cash.
Yeah.
Take me to Jones Street. All right.
I mean, you're making a joke about it, but it's true. I'm not making. I mean, what I would take it was like 600 bolivars, which would be like 600. No, 3,000, which would be like 30. No. Oh, I suck at math, so it would be like this bunch of bills
Jesus.
The wad. That's crazy.
just to pay a trip.
How did the bus driver store all that shit? Like, what did he just have a giant?
Yeah, they had
bucket
bags.
bag?
Yeah.
God.
Jesus.
Yeah, so they're charging, workers from the electricity company are charging, like, let's put a very basic example that people from here can relate. So you would charge $20 per apartment on a building like this, which has like how many apartments?
There's a
2,
lot.
4, 6, 8,
I
Yeah.
don't even know.
So they would
at least
charge
10, like in a single thing.
they would charge all of them.
Smell this beer.
And it's like a blackmail thing. So they would charge apartments and complexes and stuff like that, not to take their electricity away. Of course, if you don't have that amount of money, you have to suffer consequences. So you're not gonna have
They
electricity.
would be paying their electrical bills and everything like they're supposed to. But,
illegally. Yeah, that's the key word. Because guess what?
well, I meant like they would be charged their regular electrical bill, but then have to pay more on top of that to even keep it.
Because you know what? It's being subsidized. So what you pay for electricity legally does not match the operational costs and what you should really charge to give people decent electrical service. So you have to charge it illegally. So what happens? The people that doesn't have that money would be thrown away without electricity, and the people that they do have it, they will have the electricity.
So were they
service.
turning off the power on purpose to like
Yes.
try and get money out of people?
Now it is on purpose, but the cause of it is
In
not
April,
on purpose.
what was the whole outage about?
Yeah, but I mean,
Man, we're flying through this.
Yeah. We haven't even got to the... So I want to get to the coup that happened a month ago. The attempted coup.
yeah, I want to get to that.
Yes, we'll finish up. Let's finish up. Yeah, because part of the problem about talking about stuff that's like so
Deep and
deep and everything is you can get lost in a lot of
Yeah,
different
yeah,
directions.
yeah.
So we'll try and
I'm focusing not to deviate.
we'll probably have to. We might even have to do a part 3. We're just gonna keep
I would
it
love
coming
to
in.
do it. Yeah, a whole month of talking about Venezuela. Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be. There's probably just gonna have to do quite a few episodes. There's so much over there. I mean, why
Yeah.
not? Like,
Yeah,
I don't
we're
see a
going
downside
back way
to it.
farther than I thought it led to. Like, when was it Chavez? Mm-hmm. When did he start? Like, when he took over was
98.
98?
He gave the coup d'etat in 92, but his
Okay.
presidency began by 98, 99. And
like-
he died in 2013. Well, 2013 was the time on which his death was made public. Of course, he died in December 2012. But and after that, we had the Maduro regime, which started in 2013. It's still 2019. We're still having us a president. It's crazy to say that we've had this guy for 7 years or so, 6 years or so. It's ridiculous to him. I mean, nobody would ever imagine that before he became president that this guy would be president. Like, he looked so dumb, so naive, so stupid. Like, you could not imagine that the guy would be able to remain in power so hard that it would be impossible to take him away.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So what would... Oh.
Oh no!
Yeah,
So
blur
what-
that out.
Exposed. Yeah,
what,
I gotta blur it.
what happens now? What happens now is you have to charge for basic services on an illegal way and in dollars because of course everybody wants to make his business affordable and sustainable, but Bolivar doesn't.
Your regular electric bill is in Bolivar.
Yeah, and
they
it's
want to
just-
actually make money, so then they charge you American or whatever foreign currency, so
Yeah.
that they can actually have value to their company.
under the idea that
Yeah.
we have
I actually like it.
I don't like it.
under the idea that we have a basic service subsidized, which is not being paid by you because the state is on a lovely way paying the bill for you. I mean, like, he's running the major cost of the thing. So you're not making the thing affordable, which is a thing you want to have when you start a company. I mean, you want to make money about it. And that's the stupid narrow perspective of socialist ideas. Is like, you don't have to pay for what you have to consume because the state has to take charge about you, and it is good not to pay anything, and because money is bad and you're not supposed to be making money out of a business. And that's the idea of socialist and communist regimes. Like, money is bad, but they keep all the money for them, so then money is not that bad. So what happens is that every basic service in my country is being subsidized. Electricity, gas, gasoline, fuel, water, even now, and in the past, of course, food as well. So what happens? I mean, you're making a business that is producing to loss. And that's why you have to illegally charge in currency or start a business that will give you more revenues if you do it illegally than if you do it legally. And I'm going to talk about something that is happening, that has been happening for a ridiculous amount of time, but it's now starting to affect our daily life. So what? And I was talking with Walker about this. I'm talking about the gasoline. So, in my country, now gas stations, like for 3 years from now, had been run by the military. So, if you go to a gas stations, you'll see militaries over there, like, like controlling the situation. So, what happens in my city is like, as I told you before, it's a city that is very close to Colombian borders. Like a 4-hour drive will take you to Colombia very easy.
Yeah.
What does this mean? Colombia is another country. They handle another currency that, of course, has more value than Venezuelan Bolivar. Colombian peso has more value than Venezuelan Bolivar. And, of course, American dollar is like on the top. What this means is like, you can take any service or any good produced in Venezuela, such as food, such as gasoline, such as whatever, take it to Colombia, sell it in Colombian peso or in dollars, and take that money back to Venezuela, sell those pesos or those dollars, change it to bolivars, and then you'll have money. Or you'll have a real compensation for your service or for your good. What this creates is that you have a whole bunch of people taking stuff from Venezuela to Colombia, selling it, and then taking that money back to Venezuela. This has so many consequences. The first one is that you're adding more monetary mass to the circulation cycle of the money by taking foreigner money into the country, changing it, and producing and creating the necessity to have more physical money printed to back up, that money that is being into the country.
Yeah, if you get a bunch of foreign, you have to print more to equal the
course.
value out, which is why it gets
That creates
really, really
inflation.
bad. Yeah.
That creates inflation. That's why we have. I mean, that's one reason that pushes inflation up more.
Well, yeah,
So-
that's why it's at 1.6 million.
Yeah,
Every-
that's one reason. That's not the only reason. That's one reason.
Yeah.
And what happens is that since in Venezuela, I already told you, fuel, gasoline is being subsidized. is being paid at a cost that is not real with the market and what it really takes to produce that gasoline. And for a fact, we now, I mean, in the past, Venezuela would like be proud of be producing oil and gasoline for everyone, so we could have it cheaper than in any country in the world. I mean, it's gasoline over there is cheaper than a bottle of water, so you can make an idea. And this was possible because we had the matter and we have the chemicals needed to do that in our country. But since those chemicals are being paid with dollars again, we cannot afford them. And the gasoline we consume is no longer produced in our country, where in the past it was. So what happens now is that we are importing gasoline from another countries. And guess where are we taking gasoline from?
Colombia.
No.
America.
The United States of America.
Boom. I got it right the second time.
Good job.
Public enemy number one. So that happens. I'm not an expert on the oil thing, but I'm gonna move on. So you take that gasoline, which is now scarcity in a scarcity. I mean, there's shortage. I mean, there's not enough gasoline to everyone, and I'm gonna explain you why. But what happens with regular gasoline? You would go to a gas station. You would find military guys over there, and since in the past, this has been happening like forever. I mean, this is not a problem that Venezuela has like right now, like after Maduro made it to power. You would have gangs that would take gasoline in Venezuela, in my city, Maracaibo, or in other cities that are very close to Colombian borders, such as Maracaibo in Sucre State, San Cristobal in Táchira State. I mean, every state that is close to a Colombian border or Brazilian border. Because why? Oh, I mean,
You steal gas, take it over there, sell it for
yes, because
a good value.
obviously, since in Venezuela gasoline is being subsidized, it's produced and it's sold at a cost that it does not match the the market. But in other countries such as Colombia or Brazil, gasoline is way much more expensive.
Oh, so you make money.
Of course, you take gasoline that you pay with cents of dollars and take it to Colombia and sell it for hundreds of dollars. That's a very profitable business. Of course. And you would say, so the solution that the government created for this problem is to have everybody have a barcode which function with a chip on his car and put chip readers into gas stations. So each time you would come into a gas station, the machine would read your chip and would know how many times you've bought gasoline in that month. Because surprise, surprise, socialist country, communist regime, everybody gets equal resources on an equal way. You have a limited amount of gasoline that you could buy on a month. So it's being limited. So let's say if you want to, I don't know, pour gasoline into your car 4 times a day, not allowed. So you have a limited amount of gasoline that you could get. And that was the solution of the government, because in the end they ended up recognizing there was people taking gasoline out of Venezuelan borders to sell it outside because it is more profitable and affordable.
Yeah.
But the solution that they came out with was like, okay, let's make this chip so everybody will get a limited amount, so nobody will go crazy buying as much gasoline as they want, so they could take it to Colombia. But guess what? What I always say is that when you put a control a control on their service or good, you're creating a black market of it. And of course, you're going to have mafias of it. So the guys in charge of making the chip will sell the chip to anyone in their mafias. So you would see people like in the gas stations with several pieces of glass with the barcodes and with the chips.
Oh, man.
So when they get to the gas station, they put one, and then the next day they will go, they put the other one and the other one and the other one, so they can take as much gasoline as they want. But
and it's crazy. It's like something.
Yeah.
That's kind of a black market thing. I never would have even
but
thought
let's
existed.
Let's take things even more further and practical and technical. you would say, okay, Colombian borders in Maracaibo are like 3-hour, 4-hour drive. So by the time you get there, you've, of course, logically, consumed an important amount of your gasoline tank. So what gasoline are you taking out of that tank, and then with which amount of gasoline are you turning back to your city to pour more gasoline and make the cycle the cycle again? So of course the cheap things is a hoax. That's a thing to distract people of what's actually happening. What is actually happening is that you have the guys in the military and the guys in pt.2, which is the state company that produces oil. Of course, another company being run by the state. You have mafias over there, people getting into touch and setting a whole operation just as if they were smuggling drugs or whatever. So they would like take not tanks but full trucks filled up with gasoline, take them down to secret locations and not to actual gas stations. So you're taking gasoline out of the public and taking it to be smuggled to Colombia. They would have those trucks, empty that gasoline into huge pipes, load some trucks, and then take it to borders, give money to the militaries in the border so they could let those trucks pass. Of course, and this is an important thing I'm going to say here, Colombian military guys are involved in this operation as well, because of course it's a shared border. They would let those trucks pass and everybody gets a portion of money out of that business.
Just paying off just a whole huge line of people to get through.
Yeah, and you want to know how much money they're making?
Man,
so
you could make a sick ass movie out of all this shit that you
yeah,
talking
man.
about.
I don't know. Hey, Netflix. Hey, Hulu. Hey, HBO. Go to Venezuela and make a movie out of it. It would be so great. So what happens? In money. Let's talk money. You would invest like something like $30 cents. Not $30. $30 cents to buy a whole truck of gasoline, which has like thousands of liters.
Jesus.
American cents?
Yes.
What?
And then the outcome would be like $30,000.
Oh, that's quite a profit margin.
Yeah, that's just a little bit.
Guess how many countries are involved in this dirty business? Colombia, Aruba, Curacao, Trinidad and Tobago, Brazil. Every country close to Venezuela. They're islands. Aruba and Curacao are islands. And Trinidad and Tobago as well.
With the cost of gas being that price, there's no way that neighboring countries wouldn't look at that and see it as an opportunity. Especially with, the God damn it, what's the Venezuelan leader name?
Maduro?
Yeah, Maduro. Especially with his kind of nastiness. What's the words I'm looking for? My brain is
Corruption?
farting. Yeah, with his amounts of corruption, like if I'm a neighboring country and gas is that cheap and stuff, and I was like, oh, dude, that guy's corrupt as fuck. We could probably strike a deal. Like, this would be dope.
Yeah, man.
So all the countries are in on it.
That's when you deviate from the legal margin. We could be making millions by selling fuel to those countries on a legal way. And that could be a good revenue to our country. But no, they decided to make it illegally, so you don't have to declare that money to the central bank in our country. You don't have to pay taxes. It's all illegal money. It's all illegal. I remember that I talked about that in the last episode. When you deviate from the legal field and you move into the illegal dark field, that's when you get more profit about it, because you don't have to pay taxes. You don't have to declare how much money you're making out of it. And it is good for you if you're a criminal. But it is bad for the people and for the citizenship, because they don't have the opportunity to make a decent life or the opportunity to amass wealth on a legal, legitimate way.
Yeah, what's that? What's that one saying? High tides raises all ships. This would be like very different from that.
Never heard that.
Oh yeah, dude, it's on Netflix like crazy for some reason. Like several shows talk about it, like especially in Daredevil. Like there's about like 20 times where it's said by different characters, and then it's like, okay, the writer of the show
He really likes that
really
saying.
fucking loves that saying, because they would all be trying to strike a deal or whatever or something, and it's like, why should I help you? Highest heights, rates, all ships. And they're like, But like the saying doesn't really make much sense though, because like you're clearly creating you're devaluing or
Devaluing.
devaluing.
Demeaning?
There's enough alcohol in my system that I can't pronounce the word. I'm a little bit buzzed. I drink way more than you guys, but yeah. So the saying doesn't really make sense though, because it's like you're not raising the tide for everyone. Like you somehow have scientifically managed to raise your guys' ships. Like you're not raising the tide for everyone.
Yeah, you're raising your chips, but not raising for everyone.
Yeah, so they're stealing from the majority to put money in their pockets, which is not good.
No,
it's not good.
And now that I mentioned Colombia, you remember that a couple of years back, Colombian President Santos, not the actual one, but he got a Nobel Prize, like for peace.
Oh, really?
Nobel Peace Prize, just because he was able to handle the thing with the paramilitary guys over there, which is the FARC. I don't know if you've heard about it, but the FARC are like a paramilitary group that their name is Revolutionary Forces. Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia. So they're like a paramilitary army which tries to dethrone the government because they're not in favor of them.
Sorry, Charming's over there just making these like noises. It's quite distracting, man, dude.
But he got a Nobel. No, of course. He got a Nobel Prize just because he was able to end up that paramilitary business. And guess what? And I don't want to be like a fortune teller here, but this is what happens when you want to make arrangements with criminals, with gangs, with mafias, with terrorists, with paramilitary forces. This is what ends up happening, just what happened in Colombia. And listen to me very well, because this should not be repeated. They went to negotiations. Guess where? Cuba. So they held negotiations over there. The presidency of the Colombian state, the paramilitary guys, with Nicolas Maduro and with Raul Castro, so they could have arrangements to end up the paramilitary business. So guess what happened? And this is not what you desire and you wish to expect when you're dealing with terrorists or criminals. So the FARC decided to stop the attacks and stop being a paramilitary corp, and they became into a political party. And they were running for presidential elections last year in Colombia.
Oh, really?
Huh.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Do you think that is that oh my god, do you think that's wise? Why would you want to have terrorist guys turned up into a political party? Imagine Al Qaeda turns out to be a political party. Imagine that the Islamic State is now a political party. Oh, yeah, imagine that Hezbollah or those freak guys that like to blow themselves out away in bombs and airplanes. They end up turning into a political party because we want to make it to power now legally, and we want to make. My God, this is stupidity at its. I don't know, it's major expression. You don't turn a terrorist group into a political party.
Oh yeah, can you imagine like
that's so hypocritical.
They do that like presidential or the presidential candidate panel where all of them show up, and then Bin Laden's just like,
I'm the president.
What's up, guys? Hey, how's it going? Yeah. Like, oh, dude, go away.
You can't be here.
Yeah, like it's just ridiculous.
And in counterpart, that's what happens in Venezuela. That's what is happening right now. You have so many people in control of mafias, smuggling businesses, guns, drug businesses, and you have a guy that depicts himself as a douchebag, as a dumbass guy, which is in fact in control of all those people, and who is holding up him into power. And that's what the situation is so delicate, because it is a dangerous situation on which everybody is armed, and each minimal action or tension could cause conflict on world.
Real quick, just to clear up some confusion, when you say that they were at the presidential election, do you mean that one of them was like an actual candidate? Or
Yes.
So that doesn't seem like it would actually be well aligned with Maduro, or like it sounds like, because I'm assuming he would want to be president again, not have.
No, you're going for Colombia,
Yes.
not Venezuela.
Yes.
The Colombian elections.
The FARCs, yes.
Okay,
the,
gotcha.
The paramilitary armed group.
Gotcha.
The,
So most likely
revolutionary
Maduro
force.
and all of them are trying to make that happen
Yes,
in
of
Colombia.
course. I mean, even
Why
though-
would they? Because it sounds like Colombia is pretty well aligned with them. If all of this crap is true, it sounds like Colombia is already on their side. Like, why would they want somebody else?
I mean, it's a very dark territory, but I'm gonna explain you what happens. I mean, back in the Chavez days, he had he was a very close person to the revolutionary armed Colombian force. Like, he even in his public speeches, he would be identified with them and like, hey, you have my support with the leaders, which I think it was Timochenko or Tiro Fijo was the name of the guy. I can't remember. But he would speak in favor of them publicly. Like, he wouldn't hesitate to be in favor of them, which is a terrorist group that kidnaps people, deals with guns and drugs businesses in Colombia and Venezuela. So Chavez was the contact. He had a connection with them. And of course, Maduro is like the guy in charge now. He kept those contacts and those laces. So it is a convenient situation because, of course, a guy that identifies with the Chavismo as an ideology, it's now and that was depicted by the media as a terrorist group. It is now turned into a political party. It is something good for Maduro and for the PSUV because you have now ideological ally in your neighbor country. And for Santos, which in my opinion, I'm not Colombian, but I think I can have this opinion because I've done a little bit of research, but he was a guy that was not able to produce the solution that they really needed. I mean, you don't deal with terrorists. You don't negotiate with terrorists. You put them in jail and you don't allow them to become a political party or to get the chance to be elected for president, because that's when things are going nuts. And doesn't this remind you the way on which Chavez got to power? He was a guy that he was a terrorist,
right,
and got to power. He wanted to get to power by a coup d'état, by assassinating the president. But then he got the chance to form a political party and to run for presidency. And look where we are now. Colombia, you should be paying attention to this and not allowing your president or your former president to turn a terrorist group into a political fucking party. Fuck.
So while Colombia may be in cahoots with Venezuela, Venezuela. While they may be in cahoots, they're not the same. They're not ideologically aligned completely. So there would be a benefit to bringing these people in because they are 100% the homies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and Colombia is moving forward more and more to the let's call it the right side. NATO have now bases in Colombia. So they are a part of NATO now. That thing didn't exist in the past. But I think this is a very hypocritical situation in which the Colombian president is not able to put a final solution to the situation with the terrorist group. and because of course they don't want to disappoint the people that supports them, even if they have support. I mean, they're stupid people if they support a terrorist group, but okay, they exist. But they have this double moral and this double speech on which publicly they claim to be in favor of the United States of America and Donald Trump and to create a coalition to dethrone Maduro, but in the other hand, they let a terrorist group to become a political party and get the chance to get to power. So it's this double speech they have. This is a very critical situation over there in Colombia, which affects us because part of the reason why the dirty Venezuelan business keep being sustained is because they're getting out by Colombia or Colombia is involved. Yeah. And this is a problem that has been, I mean, this is not from the Chavez era. This was even before the Chavez era. I mean,
with Paris?
With Paris? What do you mean?
The guy?
Before
Chavez?
No. Oh, yeah, with Paris.
Yeah.
I mean, you had gangs that would smuggle fuel from Venezuela to Colombia, or you would have a high amount of Colombian migration to Venezuela because it was cheaper than Colombia. You could pay it with with Colombian peso, and you can make a decent life over there. And of course, as good things happen, and as you have good migration, you also have bad migration. And what happened in my country was like, there was a whole bunch of Colombians that moved to my country, and in the beginning they supported Chavez's campaign because he was offering them possibilities to like become citizenship, have papers, have a broader legal field in the country, and they supported Chavez into his rise to power. And this is no lie. I mean, you can look up the ciphers for Colombian, Peruvian, Ecuadorian, Haitian migration to Venezuela in the decade of the 90s. And if you look up who were the ones who voted, you will find that almost 20 to 30% of the voters that elected Chavez is in that amount of migrants that went from other countries to Venezuela.
So even though they were recently, because I'm assuming they so they migrate and they're allowed to vote that fast?
Yes. In the past, I'm not sure.
Because we've got safety plans against that and stuff like that here in America.
I cannot vote here.
For what is it 14 years or something like that? It's something really long.
No, what happens is
well, actually, we'll touch on that next time. We're in our last 9.5 minutes. Actually, so I'd like to be just in the form of getting closure on certain things because first of all, what do you think caused the full power outage? It's just that's a loose thread, and before we keep getting deeper and deeper, because we're in that last 9 minutes, I think we should tie up a few of these threads. So the power outage and your overall opinion of the tweet. I think we should close up those real quick.
Okay. So what caused the power outage? It's something that has been happening for a huge amount of years. So back in the 2000 era, when Chavez recently got to power, it was needed to make reconstruction and maintenance works were needed into the electrical system of the country, because it was a system that was installed in the decade of the 60s, and it had been running for 30 years or so, and it needed maintenance, you know, and you needed to change equipment and stuff like
definitely
that.
Definitely a good update needed there.
Yeah. This was created in the Saudi era of Venezuela, where we had the Venezuelan, the Saudi Venezuelan that had a lot of money from oil revenues. But anyways, oh, sorry, Steele. So these jobs needed to be done. So Chavez created or named a guy for that ministry.
Yeah.
So what happened is a corruption business in a nutshell. And this guy would create, would make a calculation of the money needed to, reconstruct the power system in the country. Mm-hmm. The government would approve it. And what they did with that money was that they did not do what they told they were supposed to be doing. So instead of getting new equipment, new turbines, the whole new equipment, what they did is with that money, they bought used equipment to Cuba, which already used it from former owners. I mean, the power system of Cuba was pre-owned by Hungarians, Yugoslavians even. I mean, Yugoslavia doesn't even exist anymore.
So essentially it was probably 60s
equipment,
60s
yes.
equipment replaced with other countries' 60s equipment.
Yes.
High mileage factories.
Yeah. And they got those. They bought it as brand new. And it was equipment that it was supposed to be used for contingency plans no longer than 6 hours. And they installed those equipment as permanent use equipment.
That's not how it works.
Some of those generators that they have for like the 6-hour stuff are nuts. We've got 3 of them at our data center that I work at, and they're literally train engines. That's our generators, and they only run for about 36 hours, but they consume like just ass loads of gas and stuff like that.
Yeah, so
horribly inefficient.
So those equipments were installed as brand new and were bought as brand new, and guess what? Of course, at a cheaper cost. Mm-hmm. Do you want to guess what they did with the money?
Put it in their pockets.
Of course.
Catch a falling dollar, put it in your pocket.
And I'm not talking about hundreds of. I'm not talking about hundreds of dollars. I'm talking about millions of dollars. Yeah. Millions.
You're cut talking. All the corners got old equipment, and then, oh hey, we have lots of money, but country's fucked.
Yeah. So.
So sorry. I hate to cut you off, but we've got to go to band practice, and So the final reason why you believe is they cut lots of corners and then paid the horrible price. Yeah. Because they were trying to pocket as much money as they could. Because they got approval for something that sounded great. They're like, fuck yeah, we'll get lots of money for this. Yeah. And then just pocket it.
And this is not something new. I mean, power outages or blackouts began in 2007. We're now in 2019, so this is a problem that has been...
Oh, so essentially they keep pocketing shit and not doing what they say.
They never install new equipment. And of course, the equipment installed could not take anymore. And that's why it stopped working. And that's why you have people without electricity for 12 hours or more a day. Because you don't have the necessary equipment to do it. And the reason is that they stole the money. And they never put new equipment on it. And the reason the official version says that we're being sabotaged by the empire, by the evil empire, by the United States of America, to depict them as a dictator.
Are we really marketed as something evil over there?
I've seen,
yeah, man. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So we'll definitely talk about that next time for sure. Man. So you got about like
4 minutes to tell my opinion on that tweet.
Well, we still have an outro, man. You got to give me my time. Oh, yeah. So you got like 3 minutes to give us your opinion on the tweet, and don't feel too rushed. If you want to finish more closing statements next time, that's fine.
I think it might be true, because what I've told you before is that those guys, what they like to do is like to ignore facts and then construct post-truth to those facts, just to they could be like get rid of the fault and the responsibility that they have because they caused those things and those events. So I would think that a declaration of that kind, it is totally possible to be authentic from Maduro, because he's a guy that likes to make up things to the real events. So I'm gonna make a deeper research on that tweet.
Yeah, let me know what you find out, and I'll actually put it in the thing.
I would believe it if it was true.
I mean, it makes sense because, like, you think, like, there's lots of people dying from illness and stuff like that. So, like, the statement makes sense.
And he's always concerned to cover up those facts. And I could see it in this interview that I told you with this journalist. Like, the only thing that worried him was to cover what the journalist was saying, and like he was saying, like, what you're telling is a lie, and you're only speaking trash, and that is not truth, and you're an operator of the right wing of the politics of this country, which does not exist because there's no right political parties in Venezuela. Every political party existing in Venezuela right now is a leftist party. So that's all lies.
His statement kind of reminds me of the meme with the dog sitting in the room that's on fire.
Oh yeah.
It's like all the kids are dying or whatever, and he's like, "This is fine."
Yeah, exactly.
Necessary. Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, cool. So I guess this is where we'll end it. Sorry for the cutoff, everybody. I don't want to cut off, but we've got band practice in like 10 minutes, so we've got to cut it off. But yeah, that was really fun. Thanks for coming on again.
Diving deep into this rabbit hole of Venezuela.
Yeah, so I was thinking that we could cover this in 2 parts, and I don't really know why. And since we've got a low viewership, and even if we had a high viewership, I would say fuck off, because this is about what we want to do. So there's probably going to end up being an assload of parts about this.
We should just make a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
We're probably going to do a ton of these Venezuelan episodes because, like, God, I feel like I say it wrong. But
you have to say it with a slight accent. It's one of those words you have to say with
Venezuela.
That's
Wait,
Italian.
no, that's
Oh my god.
Actually, our name comes from Italian, you know.
Hey, fuck you. I'm more good. All right, we got 50 seconds. Okay, so we're going to do an assload of these episodes, whether you like it or not, motherfuckers, because this is actually really fun, and I feel like I'm learning a ton from it. Yeah, thanks so much for coming on again. Next time, I think what we'll try and focus on covering is your specific story, and then maybe the coup d'etat.
The recent coup.
Yeah, the recent coup. I think we'll try and focus on those, and then the further episodes after that, we'll get more deeper into all this other stuff that's going on. Cuck off. You only did one.